Hello and welcome to another tutorial from MOO ICT. Today we're going to be looking at how to make a side-scrolling platform game in Windows Form. So let's just take a look at the demo. Build. Okay. So I'm able to move the character left and right with this. So whenever the character moves left and right, you also see the level moving with it. Right. You can jump up and down with the character, and it lands on the platform. I can collect coins. So what we can do here is let's jump over the platforms. Okay. Okay, we can go collect a few coins, and you can see the score is updating with that as well. The key is right there on the top. I just collected it just now. So now if I go back to the door, okay, so see the door, and then as soon as you have the key, right, it tells you that well done, you have completed your journey. Click OK to play again, and then you can click OK, and the game restarts again. So it starts up with all the coins in place and all the other stuff. You can also fall off the level, and then obviously it says you died, click OK to play again, and then you start right back up again. We are going to be making this game in Windows Form using C# programming language. So just to get started, let's go and make a new project. So I have one open here. I can go create any project there. So I have to choose Windows Form application.NET framework. Click next. Let's name this one side scrolling game MOO ICT. Click create. So this is the empty project for the game. First let's go to the MOO ICT website. The link's in the description. You can download the assets for this game. So that includes the background, the player character, coins, the door and the key. Right, so download that first. There's a written tutorial on here as well, which you can read through and sort of get further understanding on how the game actually works. But we're going to do the video tutorial, so I'm going to explain everything right here. Okay, so first of all, let's make a few changes to the form. So let's give it a name called side scrolling game. Now let's change the size to 640 by 520. Okay, so this is going to be the default size of the form. We are going to expand it a little bit to see the background better, but for now this is for reference. We keep it at 640 and 520 height. So 640 is the width of the form and 520 is the height of the form. Okay, so let's go and add a picture box. Right, so this is going to be the background picture box, so let's go and name this one background. Okay, and so if I right click on this one, say choose image, I can import all the game assets. So I've downloaded them all and extracted it. So you have got a background JPEG, a coin, GIF, door closed, door open, key and platform and the player. Okay, so I can select all of them, click open. Let's go to the background and import it. Okay, so it's been added to the form. So inside the size mode, I'm going to change that to auto size. So as you can see, it kind of surpasses the form width, but we're going to sort that out now. So the size of this one is 480 by 2000 pixels. So let's go and sort the location out. So we're going to set the location to 00 first, so it stays right there. We can expand the form by dragging it. Okay, and as you can see, you get a little bar whenever you drag it outside of the limits of what you can see. You get a little bar that kind of follows you through. So we're just going to drag it a bit longer, so we see to the end, so that way we can actually start putting the platforms and such in the game. Okay, let's start adding the platforms to the game now. So I can drag and drop another picture box in here, and then just right click, say choose image. Actually, I think I'm going to have this one set to the background image instead of the main image. So I'm going to choose the background image from here and then choose the platform. Okay, so the height of the platform is going to be set to 40. So we can change that to 40 here. Okay, and one of the good things about setting it up as the background is that we can now size it up as be as long and as short as we want, and the background will still work behind it, so that way we don't have to worry about stretching it or auto sizing it or anything like that. Okay, so this is going to be the default platform that player is going to spawn into, so we can move it right here. Okay, let's add a tag for this one called platform. Okay, so I can just hold control, make another copy of it that moves over there. So that's where the door is going to be. So let's just add a couple of more. Okay. Maybe here's fine. Okay, I can add another one there, and then add one here, maybe one over here. So this one can be a bit longer because we're going to have a bunch of coins in here. Okay, so let's make a copy of this one over here, and then maybe even there so the player can actually jump. So from here we can jump onto that, to this, and then to that again. Okay, so we can put that right there for us for now. Okay, that would do. Okay, so now let's go add another picture box for the door. So make sure you name this one door. Okay, and then we're also going to give it a tag called door. Okay, so this one we can say choose image and then say door closed. Inside the size mode we can set this one to auto size because I just want the door image to be, I can move that down a little bit so there's plenty of space. Okay, maybe move the platform to the front, that's fine. Okay, let's add another picture box for the key. So this one can be the key image. Once again, set the tag to key and auto size to, sorry, size mode to auto size, and then change the name to key as well. Okay, and then we'll move the key right over there. Okay, so we need one for the player, so what I'll do is just copy this one over here, call this one player, get rid of the tag, and then just choose the player image. Okay, so the player can spawn right there, that's fine. Okay, make sure you periodically save the project. So I just got used to the habit of pressing Ctrl S anytime I make small changes. So what we need now is coins. So let's go and choose the coin. Okay, so the coin is an animated GIF. Right, so now what I can do is size mode. I can change that to stretch image, and then change the size to say 25 by 25. Okay, so it's a small enough coin, so I can just make a few copies of this. But before we do that, make sure you put the tag in called coin. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold control and make a few copies of this one. Okay, select both of them, make a few copies there, a few more copies. Okay, and then we're going to be making quite a few here. Okay, say and then put one at the top. I might get rid of this one so it actually looks better. Okay, so that's the coins. So we got the tags on all of them. We don't have to name them specifically because we can identify them by using the tags. So I might need to put this one slightly up. And bring this down a little bit. Okay, so far so good. We got the level pretty much set up. We just need a label. Okay, so this one, name this one txt score, and this is going to be used to keep track of how many coins we have collected in the game. Okay, so in the text, just say score :0. We can make the font a little bit bigger so we can see it better. So I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so that would pretty much do that. Okay, so now what we can do here is we can now add the final component, which is the timer. So the timer is the most important component that's actually going to be controlling everything that's moving around in the scene. So let's call this one game timer. Give it an interval of 20 and set enable to true. So go to the events window inside the properties so you can swap between them, and then let's call this one main timer event. Press enter, and then you should add the event to the timer. We also need a few events from the form, so instead of, don't click on the picture box on the form because it's going to add the event to the picture box. So click on the title bar there where we changed the title earlier, and then just find the key down and key up function here. So type in key is down and then type in key is up. Okay, we also need one more event for the form. It's the form closed event, so say close game. Because the way we're going to be restarting the game is basically creating a new instance of this current form. So this way what happens is that if you made, we're going to hide the current one and then make a new one so the player can play the game again. Okay, so let's jump into the code. First, let's go add the variables that we need for this game. So right at the top, before the form1 line, let's go add a few booleans that we need. So we need to go left, go right, jumping, and has key. Okay, and then we need a few integers. Jump speed, let's set to 10. So let's set to 8. Score is set to 0. Player speed and background speed. Okay, so these are the variables that we need to make this game work. We also need to make another function here. So we can say private void restart game. So let's start with the key is down. So inside of here we can say if e dot key code keys dot left. So if the left key is pressed, we're going to change go left to true. Okay, and we're going to do the same for the right key. So go right to true, and then we'll change that to, and we're also going to be checking if the space bar is pressed to jump the character. So let's go and check for that. So if key code equals keys dot space, And we're also going to check and if jumping is set to false. So we don't want to double jump while the player is still jumping. So it'll have to be false, and then if that is false, then we can go jump. Okay. And let's set the key is up. So key is up is basically going to be a reverse of the key is down. So let's say if so go left is going to be false. So we set the go right to false as well if the right key is released, and then we also check here if jumping is equals true, and then we set the jumping back to false again as well. Okay, so we got the key is down function done, key is up function done, and we also need another function called move game element. So void say move game elements. And inside of this, what we're going to do is we're going to take in a argument for a string. So string direction. So what this is going to do, this is going to run inside the timer. So the way the direction the player is moving, we're going to move the background in the opposite direction. So if the player is moving this way, the background should be moving towards the left instead of the right. So that way it looks like the player is moving, but the player is actually staying in the same sort of zone, but the background is moving behind it with all the other elements in the game. Okay, so let's first go ahead and set up the few things in the main timer, and then we can move on with this. So let's go and set up the txt score.text. So it just shows the current score integer, the value of the current score integer onto the label. And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to change the size back to 640. Okay, and then that way we can do some accurate calculations based on where the background is to go. Okay, so this is going to be the game screen. Right, so let's so far we got the character. Let's go ahead and test at the left and right first, and then say if go left is equals true, and greater than 60. So what we want to do is we don't want to move the player right to the edge of the scene, because we want to sort of keep some padding to it. So it's going to be a little bit padding so you can sort of see where the next platform is and then jump onto that. So that's why there's 60 there. So we don't want it to go right to the edge of it, but we want it to stop here. Okay, and then we can change the player.left to minus equals player speed, so it moves it that way. And then we can say if go right is equals true, and player.width. So I should probably put this in brackets, width, and then plus, let's say another 60 here, is less than so if it's still inside of the scene from this angle here, so it should stop around there, and if it is, then we're going to move the player to the right. Okay, so let's go and give that a try. Okay, so I can move the player there up to here, and then I can move the player over there so it doesn't go anywhere beyond it. You can play around with the buffer size to obviously make the game a bit more interesting. So if you have a larger level, you can always move that number across and then see how it fits in with your background. Okay, so what we want to do next is we want to try the background scroll. Okay, so let's make some space here. So in here we're going to say if go left is equals true, and background dot left is still if it's less than 0. Okay, so that means it's right where it is right now. Then we're going to move the background dot left minus equals background speed. So we're going to be moving the background towards the left instead. And then let's go check if go right is true. Oh, sorry, I think I made a mistake there. It should be plus equals for this one, because if the player is moving left, we need to move the background towards the right. Okay, and then we go check if go right is equals true, and background dot left. So here we're gonna have to check how far does the background actually move towards this end. So background's width. So if I move this background all the way up to, say, for example, here. Okay, so as you can see, the number comes to minus 1372. So the left of the background has gone to that. So what we can do here then is, say, if it's greater than, say, 1372, right? We can move the background dot left to minus equals. And there's a minus there. Okay, so I'm just going to reset that back to 0. Okay, so if I try this now, let's see what happens. So I'm moving the player, so as I'm holding it, right, it should stop right there, and then when I move the player again, perfect. Okay, so it stops right there. Okay, it's exactly as it is there, so that's perfectly fine. And then when I move it right here, okay, so it's corresponding quite nicely. Okay, excellent. Right, so now what we need to do is we need to, as the background is moving, we need to move the components, or the game elements function that we made earlier. Right here, we're going to move that from inside of that as well, so that way everything that's inside the level will move with the background on the same speed as well. Okay, so let's go to that function now, and what I'm going to do inside of there is I'm going to make it for each loop. I was actually going to type for each loop. It's okay. So I'm looking for a control X in this controls. Okay, so if X is picture box, let's do the string, so X, and then if X has a tag called platform. Okay, so if the X that is found inside the loop is a picture box and it has a tag called platform, then we can do something with that X. And we're also going to find, I'm going to use the pipe symbol, so it's the two straight lines, to represent all, so we can have, because it's all going to have the same result, so regardless of the platform, coin, or the key, or the door, so it's all going to have the same outcome, so we can use the or sign inside the if statement. So I'm just going to copy and paste that here and say if it's a coin, I can also say another or here, copy and paste that, say if this one is a key, or if it's a door. Okay, so basically what's happening in this long line is it's looking for if picture, first one is if picture box is a if it's a picture box and it has a tag called platform. The second condition is if it's also a picture box and it has a tag called coin. The third one is if it's a picture box and it has a tag called key, and if it's a picture box and it has a tag called door, right? So if it has that, then we can do something with it. So what we're going to do here is inside of here we're going to say a if statement. So if direction is this string right there. So if direction is equals, let's say left or back, right, then we're going to say x dot leave left, so minus equals background speed, so it's all going to be moved with the background speed. And if direction is equals say forward, then x dot left is going to be plus equals background speed. Okay, so it's just going to run a loop through all the components that we have added so far with the tags. So as you can see, the door one has a tag called door, so does the key, so does the coin, and so does the platforms. So as the player's moving in the level, we want to move the background with all the elements in it. Okay, so if I go back to the timer now, so this one is moving it forward. So what we can say is with the plus, we can tell it's moving it forward. So we can say move game elements right there, and inside of there we'll just put down the word forward, so that way the program knows to move all the elements found inside this function to this here. Okay, and then we'll run the same function again, and right there, but instead of forward we change it to back. Okay, so if we run this now, let's see how that works. Okay, so I can move there, but as you can see now, when I move, it's actually moving with all of the components, right? And then when I move back, it's moving it all. Because it's all moving in the same speed as the background, that's why it's staying sort of in sync with it. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's do the jumping for the player. So to begin that one, we're going to need to say player.top. So we're going to add the jump speed to the top location of the player. So that way the player is always going to be pulled downwards in the scene unless he hits a platform. Okay, so let's say here if jumping is equals true. So if jumping is equals true, which changed the, I don't think I spelled it right. Yeah, let's think. Jump instead of jump. I'm just going to change that. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, let's go and now change the force to minus equals 1. So we're going to reduce 1 from the force for however long the jump is equals to true. Okay, now let's go and check if, say, jumping is equals true and force is less than 0, then we'll set jumping back to false. So the force will sort of help us determine how high we want the player to actually jump. So now let's go and add the interaction between the coin and the platform. So say for each. Oops. So once again we're going to do another for each loop with the control X. So all the controls are going to get scanned through. Okay, so first thing first is if X is picture box, let's call a string, and then X has a tag called platform. Okay, so if X has a tag called platform, then we can check if the player is colliding with X. So if player.bounds intersect with X.bounds. Okay, we also need to check if jumping is equals to false in this case, because we don't want the player to be jumping midway and then land sort of getting stuck in the platform. So we check if the jumping is equals to false, and then we can set the force back to 8. So then say player.top is equals to x.top minus player.height. So we'll position it right above the platform, and then we set the jump speed to 0. Okay. I think what we can do is outside of this one we can say x dot bring to front, so this always stays in front of everything else. Okay, so if we run this now, see how this actually works. So as you can see, I can actually land on the platform. At the moment I've just jumped up and then I disappeared. Okay, so let's go and find out what the issue is there. Okay, oh yeah, I forgot to add the else statement to this. So basically the reason is that whenever we press space and then jumping becomes true, and then when we leave it, unless we have the else statement attached to this if statement, it won't change the jump speed back to the normal speed. So there's nothing telling the program what to do when the jumping is equals to false. So let's change that to else here, and then say jump speed is back to say 12, for example. So if you did that, then run it. So now I can jump and then it comes back. So as soon as it goes to else, so it becomes false again, then it goes back to its normal state. So right now I can jump over to this one, jump over there. Let's see if I can jump. Okay, I can jump there, and then of course I can go to the key as well. Okay, excellent. Right, so now let's do the interaction for the coins. So let's say, for example, if spicy picture box so if X is a picture box and it has a tag called coin, what we're going to do is check for the collision between the player and the object again. So you can say player bounds dot intersect with x dot bounds, and we're also going to make sure that x dot visible is set to true. So if both of these conditions are met, then what we can say is x dot visible is set to false. So that way the coin that the player interacted with, we're going to remove that from the visible display, and then we'll add 1 to the score, plus equals 1. So let's go and see how that works. So if I could jump on there, so see I can collect that. I think somehow the label has disappeared. Okay, oh yeah, that's because we brought the X to the front, sorry. Probably moved that over there somewhere, because we brought the platforms to the front, so it's always going to the back. Okay, so now we can check. Okay, I collected two more. Collect some more. I think the text is getting hidden because it's the number's getting a little bit larger. So just move it forward a little bit. Okay, so that's being updated. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with the for each loop there. So we don't have to do anything else to the for each loop right now. So we got the interaction with the platform and the coin. Now let's go ahead and collect the key. Intersect with key dot bounds. Then we're going to change the key visibility. So let's go to key dot visible equals to false, and then we're also going to change has key to true. Okay, so the ASCII boolean is going to turn true once we actually interact with the key. Okay, so let's go interact with the door. So let's say if player.bounds intersect with, okay, and then we also need to check if ASCII is true. So if ASCII is equals true, then what we're going to do is we're going to change the door image to the door open, to properties resources.door open instead of the door closed one. Okay, and then we're going to change the game timer, so stop the game timer basically. And we can show a message box. Oops. So message box to well done, your journey is complete. And then we make a new line. So after the new line, we're going to say click OK to play again. Okay, and then after that, we're going to say restart game. Right here. Okay, so let's go and test this out. Let's see how this works. Got the game. Put the mouse away. So I can collect the coins. Oop, almost fell off. Oh yeah, we haven't done the falling off part for the game just yet. So collected the coins. Okay, got the key. Okay, so now I can go and see the door. Okay, excellent. So see the door image changes, and then you get the message saying well done, your journey is complete. Click OK to play again, and then if I click OK, obviously nothing happens because that function is still empty. So let's do the falling off the platforms part. So if player.top plus player.height is greater than this client size dot height. So that means the player has fallen off the boundaries. Then we can stop the game timer. Okay, show a message box again. So let's change that to you died. And then of course click OK to play again. That's fine. So let's leave the restart game function there. Okay, so we'll go try that out again. So run off 2. Nice. Okay, so at the moment it tells me that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's go to the game restart function, and then we'll do the close game function, and I'll explain why that was important. So right now we're working inside of this form called form 1. So if your one is named different, just check the form that we're in. One of the best ways to check it is just to go over here. So basically we're working off a partial class called form, and it's deriving from and inheriting from another class called form. So it's just called form 1 here. Okay, so we go here and we're going to make a new instance of the form 1. Okay, so say new window equals new form 1. So this is going to create a new instance of it, form 1, and then we can say, for example, new window.show. So that would show the new instance of the window that we created, but we also want to hide the current window. So we can say this.hide. Okay, so what these lines are doing, this is creating a new instance of the current form, and it's going to show the new form, and it's going to hide the current one. So one of the reasons we need this, I'll show you what that does. So say for example, if I fall off the platform now, and I click OK, and then a new one starts. So it's creating a new instance of the current form, so I can still move around the timer and all the objects are still there. Okay, so I can collect everything, and then let me just fall off again. Okay, and then it obviously starts off from where it was before. Okay, so if I close this window now, if you notice that the debug doesn't stop, although I have closed the window. That's because there's 2 different instances of this program running in the background. So what we need to do, we need to manually tell the program when we click close, we need to exit the program. Okay, so it's quite easy. So this one we can just say application.exit. Okay, because when we click close, I want to close all the instances of all the other little windows that are opened from this particular one. So this example is the simplest way I could find to sort of reset everything. Otherwise we'd have to reset all the platforms back to where they were, depending on where you sort of ended the game and stuff like that. So this way is like basically just going to take everything that exists in the form and it's just going to make a new instance of it. So that way it's a lot simpler to restart the game if that's the feature that you want to add to yours. Okay, so let's go try that now. So I'm gonna go and jump off a couple of times. So if I go over there, grab the key and then jump off, it's fine. Okay, so now if I click close, it also stops the debug. That means that it's actually closing all the instances that's running behind the scene. So it's a bit more memory efficient, because if you left it without this one, then even after you close the program, it would still be in the background and you'll have to close it manually from the task manager, which is something that we don't want to do for the players that just want to play the game quickly and then move on from that. Okay, so that's it really. So that's for the side scrolling tutorial. So you can go left and right. One of the things to mention is the reason I used a square character is because the transparency, because we're using the background, a picture box as a background, so that's why the transparency doesn't work quite well in Windows Form. So that's why I'm using a square character, so that way it doesn't show like a lot of white parts or any other colors in the background. If you do want to use a transparent one, unfortunately there's there's very few workarounds in this case, but if you find one, leave one in the comments. I'll be more than happy to look into it. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you on the next one.